What's good, guys? Welcome back to Behind the Dugouts for your latest transfer news video. And it is just a never-ending saga at the moment. Just news coming out of everywhere. Players move, potential moves, rumours, links, you name it. There's just so much content to go through at the moment. But before we get into that and we dive into the rumours, there has been a piece put out about a warning done by Uefa on Chelsea and Aston Villa in regards to inflated swap deals. So take a look at this nonsense. UEFA has warned Chelsea and Aston Villa on inflated player swap deals and has told both clubs they will be looking at any future deals closely. Some rivals have viewed such deals as a way of artificially increasing income to help PSR. What a load of crap. Look, I think the biggest problem I have with this statement, if true, is how do UEFA, or what gives them the power to impose what price a player can move to another club for? Obviously you can see by the picture, I think the deal that they were referencing, so to speak, was the Ian Maatsen and the Amari Kellerman deal, where I think we sold Maatsen to Villa for 37.5 million and bought Amari Kellerman for about 19-20 mil, which in hindsight, yes, it looks a bit dodgy. You've got obviously Ian Maatsen, who was getting regular first team football at Dortmund, didn't quite make it at Chelsea, played in the Champions League final. So his price is warranted. But the Kellyman one, I do understand, a player that wasn't playing first team football, didn't play really any games. So to be, given a price tag of 20 million is quite steep. And we know it was for a particular reason. However, the only deal really that's been mentioned in regards to Chelsea and Aston Villa at the moment is the Morgan Rogers and the Nicholas Jackson potential swap deal, where Aston Villa are valuing Morgan Rogers at 80 million, and we are obviously valuing Nicholas Jackson at 100 million. So, again, what gives UEFA the right to decide what players are worth? Each club will, when they are looking at valuing the player, just like Chelsea have done with the Madueke situation, they've looked at other wingers in the sort of same position, same numbers, same age, and in that sort of category, and determined his price based on that. And you would expect they would be doing the same, So for Jackson, I would be looking at someone like Ekitike, who's similar age, obviously scored more goals than him, but he's not scoring 20 more goals than Jackson. They're not a million miles off. And obviously Nicholas Jackson being Premier League proven, playing in what you would call a tougher league, club world champion. So he would, grant a big fee. Now, I don't believe he's worth 100 million, and I don't think Chelsea would sort of push for the 100 million mark, but I still don't get how UEFA think they can come in and just, it's not even a rule, just go, oh, well, Nicholas Jackson's only worth 50 million and you can't sell him for anything more than that. I don't get that. It's a club's asset. The club determines what they feel their asset is worth. So I don't see how this is even going to stand up. Obviously, they've said that they're going to monitor it closely. But again, the only deal is the Morgan Rogers and Jackson that could potentially happen. So I'll be interested to see. But then are they going to do this with every club? It's not mentioned in there that they're going to be looking at all clubs closely, just Chelsea and Aston Villa in particular. So I do think this is a load of waffle, a load of nonsense coming out. I think it's more of you've had a few teams maybe cry to UEFA about deals that may have been done. And Chelsea, I would say they're the kings of loopholes. We find loopholes and things, and clubs tend to follow suit. Look what we did with our women's team, selling our hotels, and then lots of other teams have followed suit, Aston Villa being one. They've recently sold their women's team. So I get that UEFA probably don't like Chelsea in particular, even before these owners in. I don't think we were liked amongst any of the footballing bodies, but it looks like because we've been targeting loopholes quite often in quite substantial amount, which is probably frustrating UEFA and obviously all the PSR rules, that they're trying to find ways to crack down on us as much as possible. We've had a fine recently from them as well, so we're not in their good books, and I think this is just another way for them to crack the whip and flex their muscles, although I don't see how this is going to stand up in any shape or form. But let me know what you think on this, guys. Do you think that how are they going to implement this? Is it actually something that Chelsea and Aston Villa should even take seriously? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Moving on to the players. Now, there's been a lot going on in terms of outgoings, players that are potentially on the move for Chelsea, and also potential incomings, not just to Chelsea, but a variety of clubs. So we're going to take a look at some of them now. So this is the latest on Renato Veiga. Renato Veiga still expected to leave Chelsea this summer, with a permanent move anticipated since June. Atlético Madrid, Bayern and Premier League clubs all in the race to sign Veiga. Understand Chelsea want a package of over 40 million euros, while talks with clubs continue. Then we also had this. Understand Renato Veiga is on the shortlist for Atlético Madrid. There are more options, but Atletico are monitoring Veiga's situation. The 21-year-old versatile defender could leave Chelsea if a suitable offer arrives. Price valuation between 30 and 35 million. Many inquiries have also been made. His contract runs until 2031. Now, Veiga is another one of those players that the club have seen that they can flip for a sizable profit. And, I think we brought him in for around 40 million euros. For him to now potentially be going for 40 million euros, we're going to make a sizable profit in him. But it is slightly disappointing. Veiga had a lot of promise. I thought he was quite a talented footballer. He showed glimpses. He showed a lot of passion. I think he endured himself to the Chelsea fan base pretty quickly with his big challenges. He was stuck in, he went for everything. And then 6 months in, he just decided that he didn't want to be a left back, which is what we brought him in for initially. And he wanted to play centre-back, hence why he got the move to sort of Juventus, because he wasn't going to get into place over Levi Colwill or Badia Shiel in the left centre-back role. And he's a player that, again, is very similar to the Jordi Petrovic situation, where we could really use him now, especially as backup to Cucurella. And he would be a suitable backup for Cucurella. But it's one of those, he wants to, play regularly, which he's not going to get in the left-back position. He's not going to get in the centre-back position. And the club have now the potential of flipping the player and bringing in a good profit for him. So I do expect Veiga to be on the move. He is one of those players that the club are looking to move on. Again, disappointing, but if we can take that money and reinvest it into another player, and hopefully that other player is going to be a backup for Cucurella, because boy, do we need backup for that guy. We can't go through another season with just him as the left back. Obviously, there is the Caleb Wiley option, but he's not really mentioned anywhere. We don't see him at all, so I don't think he's going to be suitable yet as a backup for Cucurella. So we do need to bring someone in, and we're going to get into one of those potential players in a bit. But let me know what you think on Veiga in the comments below. Now, potential player that could come in and replace Veiga is Ajax defender Joel Hatto, a left back who can play left centre back. Again, a young player of good quality, will fit the system, is versatile. These are the players that we look for, can play in multiple positions. We're going to wax lyrical on that pretty much every signing that we are looking at, because it is important for the club and for Maresca in the players that they bring in moving forward. And he is a player that has been mentioned sort of throughout this transfer window, and it hasn't gone away. There was the links to potential Liverpool signing him. That's gone a bit quiet at the moment, but it's still rumoured around us, and there has come out that we could potentially get him for around 40 million, which would basically be, at this point, the same money that we would sell Renato Veiga for. So we can take that money from Veiga and reinvest it into Joel Hatto. And I do think, personally, this is a position the club do need to focus on. There are a few roles in the team that need to be strengthened, and the left-back position is definitely sort of the standout position where we need someone in quickly. So I hope this one does materialise. I do like the look of Joel Hatto. I like the idea. The player is quality. He fits the mould in terms of versatility, age, all that jazz that the club love. So I do think this one would be good to pursue. And if we can, move on Veiga and go out and get Hatto, I would endorse this. And I hope the club do take the move to, push this one further. Moving elsewhere outside of Chelsea, there has been some news on Ekitike. in regards to his potential move to Liverpool. Obviously, there were the battle between Liverpool and Newcastle for his signature, both, you know, speaking to the player and putting bids out to Frankfurt themselves. But it looks like Liverpool could be winning this race. So this is the latest on Ekitike. Liverpool are discussing a deal worth £75 million to sign Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. So yes, Liverpool they basically have gone to Newcastle, go, either you give us Isak or we're going to go in for Ekitike. I don't think they're going to be able to afford to get both. I know there was, the rumours going around that Liverpool are going to go get Ekitike and get Isak from Newcastle. I don't think they're going to have the funds to be able to do that. So it's put Newcastle in a bit of a tricky situation. Either they go in all in and go get Ekitike and then sell off Isak, or they keep Isak and allow Liverpool to sort of take the nudge on Ekitike, which it looks like they are going to do. We do know that they need a forward. Darwin Núñez is just not settled. He's not hitting the heights that was expected of him. So I understand that they need to, bring in another forward. They can't just rely on Salah after season, even though, he's still delivering. But if I was to, as an outside, as a Chelsea fan, if I was given the option to allow Liverpool to sign either Isak or Ekitike, I would let them sign Ekitike. I don't want Liverpool to get Isak. I think that is going to it's going to elevate them to, they're already a strong team and, they're Premier League champions. And if they were to go out and get a striker like Isak, they're going to be a different beast. So for me, would be happy if Newcastle would keep Isak and allow Liverpool to get Ekitike. I think Ekitike has a lot of promise. Ceiling's quite high. He will become a quality striker, but Isak is a Premier League proven, ready-made, next to Haaland, the best striker in the league. So it would be a scary signing if Liverpool were to get Isak over the line. But we'll see how this materialises. Still early doors. Obviously, Liverpool have sent that bid, so we'll see what happens if it gets rejected or if it's accepted. But let me know what your thoughts on Ekitike. I know we were linked with him at one point, a very similar profile to Nicholas Jackson. But looks like it's either going to be Newcastle or Liverpool. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Moving into Man United, and I think they may have finally moved one of their unwanted want-away players out the door. This is the latest on Marcus Rashford. Breaking: Marcus Rashford to Barcelona, here we go. Verbal agreement in principle between all parties involved with Barca, planning for the medical tests in the next days. Loan deal with buy option. Details being finalised today. Then Man United will authorise his travel to Spain. Now, I personally think this is a good move for all parties, for Rashford, for United and for Barcelona. I think Rashford will do very well in Spain. I think he will cope with, the speed of the league. It's going to be less physical, not as quick as the Premier League, even though I think Rashford did pretty well in the league. And I think part of his decline is not just on the player, but I think it's Man United itself. We've seen enough evidence in all the players that have come through United in the last sort of 10 years or so. They just seem to kill players off, and Rashford being one of them. And he had so much promise, so his ceiling was so high, and he's just disappeared really. He did okay at Villa last year. They just don't have the funds to retain him, and I think Rashford is looking for a bigger challenge, and it's a move that has been flirted with for quite a while. Every sort of window, it's been mentioned of Rashford potentially going to Barcelona. And I think Hansi Flick will get the best out of him. I mean, look what he's done with Lamine Yamal and as well as Rafinha. So I think he will do very well in Barcelona, and I think this could potentially reignite his career. And with the World Cup around the corner, he will be thinking of this move being the catalyst to potentially push himself back into that England squad, into contention under Thomas Tuchel. But let me know your thoughts on this move. Do you think this is a good move for Rashford and Barcelona? Drop your comments below. And then lastly, we're going to finish on Arsenal. Now, we as Chelsea fans have been really happy of late with the money we've got from Madueke, the tears we've had to witness from the Arsenal fans. in the last week and a half, as well as potentially hijacking Eze from them. It's been beautiful to watch, and we've got so much joy out of that as Chelsea fans. However, those tears look like they're potentially going to turn into smiles and tears of joy rather than sadness now. So this is the latest on Victor Gyökeres to Arsenal. Arsenal now close to full agreement with Sporting for Victor Gyökeres. Hope is for a breakthrough over the weekend, with only a small portion of the add-on still under discussion, and Gyökeres waiting for permission to undergo a medical. 63.5 million plus 10 million package broadly agreed, and only small details left. Now, as much as I would love Arsenal to still fumble this deal, I don't see that as being possible. I do think they get this over the line. Sporting have, made this difficult. They have been quite tough negotiators in this deal, which is understandable. This is their prize asset. They're not going to want him to go for cheap. So they're definitely trying to squeeze every penny they can out of Arsenal, but I think this one's going to get over the line either this weekend or early part of next week. We will get the here we go for Gyökeres to Arsenal, and it definitely does strengthen them. They've been crying out for a striker, a player that's just going to put the ball in the back of the net, and his stats don't lie. What he's produced over the last few years for Sporting, it doesn't lie. He's going to score them goals. He's going to make Arsenal more of a threat next season. It is a good purchase, especially when you look at what strikers are going for that have scored less goals than him. Yes, they're a bit younger. Look at Ekitike, who's been touted for 100 million, and Arsenal are looking to get Gyökeres over the line for 63 plus 10 million in add-ons. So they are getting a good player for a reasonable, price for what the player can bring to this team. And like I said, it's going to make Arsenal more of a threat next season. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think Arsenal are going to potentially challenge for the title or make more of a challenge than they have done for next season? Or do you think Gyökeres might flop? It's definitely been a lot mentioned regarding this, and sort of rumours to why other clubs have not gone in for him, because they just don't see him as working in the Premier League. But for me personally, I don't see how a 60-plus goal striker doesn't come into this league and score goals. I don't see it personally. I think he's going to come in and do pretty well. Just his physique and the type of player he is, I think he will score quite a few goals. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that in the comment below. But for now, guys, that is all from me. And if you are enjoying this content, please hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Feedback is greatly appreciated. But for now, take care of yourselves, and I will catch you in the next one.